Okay, here's folks. Here's a story what TYT did about recently a cop caught hysterical laughing about a pedestrian killed by officer. And this is terrible. But I'm showing you this because this is what I'm showing you this because the TYT again doing more damn propaganda. Although they're trying to point out police brutality and bad cops, bad system of cops. That's what it is. The bad justice system, terrible cops. And it's the opposite. It's the opposite. It's the one bad apple. One bad apple spoils a bunch. How about they're all bad apples and there's a couple good apples? That's what this system is, folks. It seems like. But they're trying to do, trying to point out police corruption and bad cops. Even when they do this, they're doing propaganda. See, back in the old days, they never did this propaganda, either or. They say, they say there's good cops. Not all bad cops are bad, blah, blah, blah. Now they're saying that the left, and some strange thing, the left is saying this about the cops. Well, they always bring up defund the police. I don't know if they bring it up when, the election time, they bring it up. And they bring up all this, some cities did reforms. And it didn't go all that well. And bail reform and whatever. And I think St. Louis did defund the police, or reallocate the funds. That's what it means. Defund the police means reallocate the funds, put it into mental health, like get a health team. Mental health worker going there instead, or going along with the police. If there's some situation where they need mental health provider might be better off. And but there's nobody's talking about defund the police, like, because they do defund the police, it's it turns off people. I mean, no one's talking about, and they always mention the crime. Crime is going up. Crime's actually going down. I mean, violent crime's going up. And there's another story with she blames car insurance. Another story about car insurance on theft. And she did research on that. She called the insurance company. Well, certain areas, if you're in certain areas, there might be there's one factor, car theft. There's one factor. But she's saying, she was really ticked off for that. Like, she really got triggered. Anna Kasparian. My car insurance is going up. These damn theft. Damn car thieves. And nothing is one factor. And the media is hiding the fact. Media is hiding this. It's not a big deal. I mean, that's why they didn't report it, because the media, it's not really a big story. I think the car insurance said depends on certain area, but it's not in whole general. It's not generally because of the car theft. That's why our cars are getting expensive. I mean the insurance are getting everywhere is going up because of theft. It's not the case. Certain areas maybe. And she's in LA, so yeah, there's a lot of car theft there. But in general, it's not going up like everywhere in the US. But I think they're saying that it's going up everywhere in the US. But it's one factor. But anyways, I'm back to this story here. I'll show you some. This is a bad story here, a sad story kind of, or despicable.
This video from a Seattle police officer's body-worn camera captures what sounds like a callous disregard for human life.
I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead.
That's the voice of SPD Officer Detective Daniel Otterer. It's recorded January 24th, one day after a woman, 23-year-old John V. Kundula, was struck and killed by another officer's squad car while that officer was responding to a call.
That's right. A Seattle police officer is now under investigation after he was caught on body cam.
Yeah, that's terrible. These guys are fucking reckless. I mean, sorry I'm swearing. Damn reckless. I mean, responding to a call, he hit a pedestrian. How reckless. These guys that don't care at all. Some of these cops. It's terrible.
Laughing and joking after another officer fatally struck a pedestrian the day before. Now, we'll listen to more of that body cam footage in just a moment, but first, it's important to get into the context of what happened to this young student who was here in the United States from India. She was here trying to get her graduate degree in Seattle specifically. And then this happened. A marked patrol vehicle driven by Seattle police officer Kevin Dave struck and killed Janavi Kundula on January 23rd. That officer had been responding to a priority 1 call, police said, a day after the incident when he hit Kundula, 23, who had been in a crosswalk. So she was in a crosswalk. He was driving incredibly fast. He was definitely going over the speed limit. A report by the Seattle Police Department's Traffic Collision Investigation Squad later found that Dave had been driving at a peak speed of 74 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. Investigators concluded that Dave struck Kundula with his Ford SUV at approximately 63 miles per hour. And
wow.
Kundula was thrown approximately 138 feet. Witnesses said that she started running as soon as she saw the car speeding in her direction. The investigation into the incident found that had Officer Dave been traveling 50 miles per hour or less as he approached the intersection and encountered the victim, and if Dave and the victim responded in the exact same manner, this collision would not have occurred. Now let's get to the police officer you heard in the video, essentially seeming to laugh about this matter. So his name's Daniel Otterer, and he's the cop that we'll hear talking on the body cam footage a day after the incident took place. He's also the vice president of the Seattle Police Officer Association Guild, so the union representing the police department. He is a drug recognition evaluator on the force's DUI squad. And so he was there on the scene after the woman was struck and killed to evaluate whether the officer had been under the influence when the incident occurred. So on the other end of the line was reportedly the union president. His name is Michael Solon. We don't hear him, unfortunately. I would like to hear the other end of the line just to have a clearer idea of.
I wear a few different hats as CFO. You know, sometimes it's referred to as chief fixing officer.
What they were genuinely conversing about, and it's important to know that because of the defense that Otterer is about to share with us all. We'll get to that in a moment. But with that said, let's watch Otterer's pretty callous response to this absolutely horrific death. Let's watch.
I mean, he's going 50. That's not out of control. That's not reckless for a trained driver. I don't think she was thrown 40 feet either. I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah.
See, this guy must be a demon or something. That for somebody, I mean, this bystander, pedestrian being just killed like for no reason. Yeah. This is like a video game to you where, I don't know. Or just like a father. I mean, we're just father. I think we're just like paid father to them. To the power. The elites and the powerful.
Yeah, just write a check. Just yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Really hard to stomach those comments. Let's skip ahead.
You have limited value too. He's a piece of crap. He's probably a racist cop anyways, because she's Indian. And then see that maybe if it was a white woman, I don't think he would say this. I mean, she's Indian, and he doesn't care. An immigrant, so that's another factor there.
Ahead to what he's claiming. Now, he hasn't spoken to the press about this. He hasn't put out some publicist statement about it, but he did essentially do a filing where he responded in a way. To basically defend himself. Okay, so he said this: "I intended the comment as a mockery of lawyers. I was imitating what a lawyer tasked with negotiating the case would be saying and being sarcastic to express that they shouldn't be coming up with crazy arguments to minimize the payment. I laughed at the ridiculousness of how these incidents are litigated and the ridiculousness of..."
Could be racial because he's an Indian woman. I think she looked in. Well, if he doesn't think he didn't mention her race though, but she being a white blonde woman or something, black blonde American woman, would you have this reaction? I'm thinking to myself, maybe not.
How I watched these incidents play out as two parties bargain over a tragedy. He continued to write in this filing with the Office of Police Accountability: "I do understand that if a citizen were to hear that, they would rightfully believe I was being insensitive to the loss of a human life. I also understand that if I heard it, it could diminish the trust in the Seattle Police Department and make all of our jobs more difficult. With all that being said, the comment was not made with malice or a hard heart. It was quite the opposite," he said.
Oh, sure, yeah.
By the way, he's got a bit of a history being pretty callous.
Okay.
I'll get to that in a minute. I want to hear your thoughts so far.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to the members first because I think they nailed on a couple of things. James Neo Saturn, a YouTube member, wrote in, "Damn, he even has a Joker-like laugh." And the reason I'm reading that is because you want to talk about ridiculous. You're claiming you're actually on her side in that tape, that you had sympathy for her, but that you were mocking the callousness of the lawyers. Please, man, we got eyes, we got ears. Come on, man, you're laughing your ass off. And you said her life had limited value and then laughed. Imagine that's your daughter. I got a daughter. Imagine that's your daughter. And he's having a good belly laugh over how limited the value of her life was. And then come around and tell us that, look, it's one thing to say you're talking about the lawyers. It's one thing to say you were sarcastic. But do not pretend that you were on her side or had any sympathy for her. That's ridiculous. And then, most importantly, Burning, another YouTube member, wrote in, "Cops don't see us as human."
Yep.
And I think, guys, unfortunately, that's how we train them, to have a callous disregard for the citizens' lives. And what drives me crazy...
How we train them. Or how we recruit them. Maybe guys like this shouldn't be on the police force. How about that?
...is the extremists on all sides. So,
here's his copaganda, folks. This is his copaganda. Here it is.
We were supposed to reform this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a giant problem in policing in America. That we train them, worry about yourself, care about your own safety, and the citizens are, don't worry about it, just shoot, do whatever you have to do, better to be judged by...
They chain them, really. How about not letting them on the damn force? Who has people who have this attitude? How about they give them a some kind of psychological evaluation, see if they could actually go on into the force, the police academy, or whatever, to see if their psychic is good, their mental capacity. I mean, to go on the police force, you give these guys a gun. I mean,
Called and carried out by 6. Your life is more important than the citizens' lives. We train that. We ask reasonable reform on the left, saying, please fix that training. And then other folks said, no, defund the police. That's
please fix that training. Who's
made
saying
it seem
defund
like
the
we were going to
police?
get rid of police.
No, you dumbass. It means refund. It means allocating funds in resource, instead of going all to the police, and the police copaganda, what do you call that thing in Atlanta now? What did I talk about? They didn't even mention that. The police damn thing in Atlanta. I forgot the damn name of it. Shit. But it means allocating funds to other resources, like mental health, mental care. Getting a mental caretaker, mental work, like to just helping the cops, or something like that. In certain situation, allocating funds, sending somebody, mental health worker there to a certain situation, and that's what all that means. Allocating funds doesn't give them all the money, give them all the damn money.
Everybody off. And you know what we've done since?
Nothing.
No,
Hold on, say it again.
That slogan made it seem like we were going to get rid of police.
No, they're not. They're dishonest. No one's gonna get rid of freaking police. The right wing is saying that, and the corporate media is saying that. That doesn't mean that. They make it. The Republicans are saying that. Oh, you want to get rid of the police? They don't. I mean, they're not advocating to getting rid of the police. Doesn't mean that. Maybe it's a few, but the vast majority on the left, except for you, believe that reforming the police and reallocating the funds, and that includes training too. I mean, a whole bunch of sort of things, criminal justice reform, all that. And then the Biden, he's supposed to do all that. Well, not reform the police, but criminal justice reform. And he hasn't done it. What is?
Everybody off. And you know what we've done since?
Nothing.
No,
we've done nothing. Oh, really?
Funding for the police, and
yeah, you're right, because they believe the propaganda. Because you didn't defend that. You should have, but you guys don't believe that anyways. See, somebody like you should explain to them, like, doesn't mean that, well, you don't believe it anyways, but it doesn't mean that. But it would be a good help if the TYT was on the side of reform the police. I think that they would explain it. I mean, they have a big channel. I think that would have would have turned the tide. You never know. But instead, you're not really you're with Biden and the Republicans. You like the police. I mean, give money more. You really give the funds to the police. You talk about crime and propaganda every friggin' day. When you do stories like this, there's always propaganda. You point out it's either or. Or it's because I defund the police. That's why you have bad cops. Now you're saying that you have bad cops now because they're giving money to you defund the police, or it turns people off, and then they're gonna give more money to the cops. Do nothing about it. So because they defund the police, you believe in the defund the police. So you believe in the activists again, so-called activists, or they're doing all the friggin' stuff. They're figuring out this. You believe in the activists. It's all the black activists or the trans activists or whatever. It's all their fault. It's always their fault, the activists, isn't it? So it's all their fault for the cops are bad now. Because they're getting more money, turn people off, defund the police, then they give more money to the cops. Then they ignore the problem. So that doesn't matter. Even if they said defund the police, it doesn't friggin' matter. Even if they didn't mention that, that was not a factor. Even that wasn't the case. They never mentioned that, or there's no such thing as that. If there's no such thing as that, there'll still be a problem. This is disingenuous, anyways. This argument is disingenuous because there'll still be a problem, even if there was no such thing as defund, no such slogan as defund the police. They will still increase the police budgets, and there'll still be a damn problem.
No accountability. You've got to find a reasonable way to get accountability. That's what the giant majority of the country wants. They don't want no cops. They don't want runaway cops who are killing our daughters and having.
No one said there were no cops, you dumbass. Who say no cops? And it's a concept. People has a concept of cops. It's actually a concept of not cops, but of no cops. I think some left in the, but everybody wants cops. I think some people proposed it. Some intellectuals, just a concept of having no cops, maybe. The society will have any different kind of concept of policing. That's all it means. It doesn't mean no law enforcement. Doesn't mean no lawlessness. Doesn't mean like no laws or nothing. I mean, you know that too. You're disingenuous.
A good laugh over it. They want accountability, and they want them to care about our lives. It's not too much to ask for, and we can't get it in any part of the political spectrum.
Oh my God. The left's fault. He's damn. You know what fault it is? The right wing and the corporate media. And people like you, Jink. I'm sorry to say. People like you. Sorry to say, doing propaganda. And Cop City. That's what I remember. You don't mention Cop City. What's going on in these cities? Cop City. But doing propaganda and fear mongering. Crime's up. Oh, crime is up. Fear mongering. And that's why. And it's getting worse. It's gonna be a freaking fascist state. It's gonna be actually fascist. The US is gonna be. Never mind Trump. Some states are even fascist, even blue states kind of fascist. People would say that's why they're voting for Trump, because they think Biden's a fascist now. And he's endorsing the police, giving them budget. He supports the police state. So they think that their lives are not better under Trump or Biden. They don't care. Especially in the black community. But you guys are just, I don't know, you guys are like, what do you call? You're in the professional professional managerial class, and you don't know about this. So you're rich anyway. He's a millionaire. This guy's a millionaire, folks. Probably a millionaire. Him and Anna Kasparov. So he's a millionaire actually. So they're out of touch. But it doesn't mean that you're rich, you're out of touch. So it doesn't mean that actually, but some rich people are not. I mean, but
yeah, it's super frustrating because everything that's
frustrating you in copaganda. My God.
transpired following
And then I'm going to end this video, folks. This is craziness.
the protests in 2020 has been a bit of a disaster, right? So you've got the slogan. Yes, you have some cities that
These Democratic mayors, they not do nothing either. These friggin' cities. They don't do nothing about the cops. So blame them too.
very briefly cut funding to police departments and then immediately decided, no, we're going to
I
not
didn't
only
cut no funding. Where's that? He's disingenuous. Oh my God. They didn't cut the funding. They allocated the funds. That's what they did. And he's disingenuous, I think. I think he did a story of that. And he said they cut the funding. I think it was in Washington. He actually did that story. I think they allocate the funds. So they got less funding than the previous year or something. So it's not like they cut the funding and that's it. They allocate the money somewhere else.
refund the police, but we're going to add additional funding. But at that point, a lot of cops quit, right, because of the protests. A lot of them retired early.
They catch feelings, Uncle Brady.
So then you're dealing with...
I don't care if they quit. I mean, I care, but they catch feelings, so they catch feelings.
Some parts of the country, like Oakland, for instance, which has a very severe police shortage. And then you see stories like this where, some of the ones that remain seem to have this absolute disregard for human life.
Yep.
And that leads to additional distrust toward policing. And that's just a terrible system to live under, especially at a time when, if you're living in some parts of the country, you might be experiencing, an uptick in certain crime. You might want to, call someone for help. And if you don't trust the police, who are you going to call? It's a huge problem all around. But I want to go back to his record, right? First off, let me just say, I think it's really important to hear the other side of the call. Super important. Because if he is claiming what he's claiming here, that he was actually just being sarcastic and critical of the lawyers and how these negotiations take place, okay,
I don't buy it.
Let's hear the other side of the call. With that said, though, let's go to his past, because back in 2010, a profanity-filled dashcam video showed 4 Seattle officers detaining a man after pulling him over
police is
during
terrible
a traffic
anyways.
stop. One of the 4 officers...
There's stories about Seattle police, and they're kind of terrible anyways. And that, I don't know.
on the scene was Otterer. Now, here's what James Egan, who is the Seattle defense attorney, had to say. One of the officers says to this Hispanic detainee, "If it weren't for my badge, I'd skull F you and drag you down the street." And Officer Otterer, in listening to this...
This guy's a racist, obviously. I don't think that was a white woman he ran over in that... it seems like this guy's a racist.
has the same kind of goofy laugh that you hear in the most recent body cam recording. And it's not clear if he's faced any discipline yet, or if he's even been suspended. Usually they'll be suspended with pay. There's no word or statement about that. However, in a statement Monday, the Seattle Police Department said it learned of the conversation not from Otterer, but from an employee who listened to it in the routine course of business. That employee was concerned about the nature of statements and took their concerns through their chain of command to the chief's office. After reviewing the video, the chief's office referred it to the Office of Police Accountability for investigation. Now, obviously, the person who reported Otterer has not been named, But whoever that person is, I commend them for doing something that a lot of police officials, a lot of police officers don't do, fail to do, are too afraid to do, which is report an officer engaging in bad behavior. So we'll see where this goes, but it's
yeah, he's probably blackballed by now. He's got, you know if he's on the force or not. The guy who he called this guy out, he might be. I wonder if he has a job or.
He doesn't look good. Let's put it that way.
I wonder if he has a job. I guess they don't mention. Well, they don't mention that, but he called him out. So, and it's a thin blue line. So he probably doesn't have a job in it. Who knows? He's on the force. That guy who called, he rat him out. He's like a rat. Yeah, I rat him out. So does he have a job?
Goddamn training. And so, what did the left say when I said that? Or
Not
the
just
left
training, man. It's not training.
on Twitter, the tiny amount that they are. They said it's not enough. It's not enough. We have to defund the police entirely. Well, how'd that work out?
No one's talking about. Oh my God. Who's saying defund the police? I think you're just lying. It's doing copaganda. Oh my God. But no one's talking about defund the police. I mean, yeah, not defund the police. Police allocating funds. Doesn't mean not giving them money. And training, how about recruiting? How about they recruit good people instead of bad people? That's what it's not training. He's right. They're right, not all training. It's not just training. They're right. You're wrong, Jink.
For you. But we could have gotten this, but we didn't get it. Nobody even tried to fix the training. And then the right-wingers are like, we don't need to fix no stinking training. Thin blue line. Support the cops. Support the Blue Lives Matter. Until they kicked your ass on January 6th, and all of a sudden now you hate the cops.
No, really, fuck the right wing. Screw these guys. That's a given. The right wing gonna do that. They're hypocrites. So that's a given, anyways. I mean, that's stupid. He means, you know what's the problem with the corporate media? How about the corporate Democrats? It's not the left. More important, it's not maybe it's the left or it's more the corporate Democrats. How about that? In these freaking blue states, how come they don't? And they have bad police force. How about that, Jink? What left spotted? Sure, the Republicans are terrible. But even actually conservative, even maybe some MAGA voters, maybe they might be sympathetic. Something like this, they would be sympathetic. Some of them might be. But the politicians and the real hard MAGA, I mean, like some of them who don't like the cops, they might be sympathetic. Not all of them are like, he's saying the right wing. I think all of them, some of them are hypocrites. Some of them might not be. They might be sympathetic to some of the left. They might agree. They actually agree with the left, probably. Defund the police. Never know. Actually. But how about these Democrats? In blue states. Like these mayors. They had bad police forces. The corporate Democrats.
Oh, and they're not trained well enough to deal with us. Well, first of all, yes, that's true, because they just let you into the building half the time. Okay? But yes, this doesn't...
You're right about that.
They have the same regard for all of us. You're the citizens, and unless you're rich and powerful, they don't give a goddamn about you.
Okay, you're right about that.
All right, finally, I'm going to give the last word to another YouTube member. By the way, you could be a member and do the show with us by hitting the join button below. Samantha Toto wrote in, wow, this guy's about to cost the department a lot of money, and unfortunately, accountability for this guy won't be jail. Samantha, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Cops are never going to go to jail for this kind of abuse, etc. But more importantly, you know who pays that money? We do! We do! That cop doesn't pay it. because they got a great union, and their union says, nope, 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 we're never going to be accountable for a goddamn thing. You're not going to take a penny from us. We're not going to jail. We're not doing anything. No, the citizens have to pay for.
How about police reform? That would do it. And why you don't blame the Democrats and Joe Manchin and the freaking politicians in the Congress? I mean, you blame the left, on the online left. How about these politicians? I mean, they're making excuses. Oh, because of the defund the police. They turn people off. Just making excuses for the politicians. I mean, especially maybe you're a Democratic shill. I don't know.
For our crimes. And that's what's going to happen next. Thanks for watching the Young
No, that's it for this is a terrible. Again, copaganda. My God. You know my advice to you guys? You shouldn't do cop stories. Calling out police corruption, because you end up doing propaganda. I mean, it's not either or. I mean, it's not both sidism like in this case. And why it's irrelevant. Defund the police bring up defund the police. It's totally irrelevant. In this case, it's irrelevant. Has nothing to do with this. In this case, it has nothing to do with it. Some other cases you could say, yeah, maybe if there's not enough cops or whatever. Like in Washington, she did a story. I think they allocate the funds for Washington, D.C., I think they did a story. And it maybe had an effect. But, I don't know. The way they did it was wrong. Everything, that's why. It's a good concept. The way they did the money. They allocated the funds. Then they went back to giving more money to the cops. They gave less money. They didn't really defund. I mean, that's what they did. But a story like that, and crime went up. People were asking, people complaining. They wanted to give more money to the cops. They want more cops. It's in Washington, D.C., I think. It was 2 months ago or something. And yeah, that's an effect. You could say defund the police. But here you don't see, there's no effect of that. It wouldn't matter either way. If you give these guys less money or more money, it still would be a bad cop like this. I mean, yes, the training, how about the recruiting? How about that? Police reform, totally police. That's not the reason. To say that this defund the police is the reason you guys don't have justice with police reform. I mean, you're not blaming the politicians in Congress, Joe Manchin and Tim Scott, I think. There was a bill, and what's it called? George Floyd Justice Reform or something. It's called. It didn't pass. So why don't you blame these guys? You blame the leftists. Some rando leftists on Twitter you blaming. Oh my God. That's why there's bad cops. Anyways, I'm out. This is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible.